So, what if one of the most revered rabbis in modern history left behind a secret note, a note that revealed the Messiah's name? Well, today we're unpacking that exact claim from the book The Return of Christ. It's a wild story involving a sealed message and a prophetic checklist that's supposed to help you identify the Messiah. Okay, let's dive right in. We're starting with this quote from Rabbi Yitzhak Kadori, who was one of Israel's most influential spiritual leaders. And right off the bat, this sets a tone of mystery, doesn't it? It kind of hints that the Messiah's arrival might not be the grand, universally accepted event everyone pictures. So who exactly was Rabbi Kaduri? Well, he was a hugely respected Mizrahi Haredi rabbi and a world-renowned Kabbalist, a master of Jewish mysticism. The story goes that just before he died in 2006, at over 100 years old, he wrote down his final and most explosive secret. Get this. He told his followers to seal the note and wait to open it until 1 year after his death. But here's the thing. It wasn't just about a name. In his very last Yom Kippur message, Kaduri had already laid out a super detailed profile of the Messiah. He basically created a checklist of signs to look for before the biggest clue of all, the name, was finally revealed. Okay, so let's break down these characteristics that Kaduri talked about. The book we're looking at really hammers this point home. This is not some vague Nostradamus-style prophecy. Nope. It's a series of very specific and, frankly, surprisingly modern identifiers. So here it is, the prophetic checklist. According to Kaduri, the Messiah is going to show up after the death of former Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon. You can see some other really interesting points here. He won't be a politician, he'll just be among the people, but he will use the media to get his message out. And this is crucial. He'll be met with a ton of skepticism, especially from the religious establishment. It's all supposed to happen in 2 stages. And this right here is where we get to the absolute heart of the book's claim. It doesn't just leave these as abstract predictions floating out there. No, it draws a direct, point-by-point line from Kaduri's profile to one specific person. And this slide just lays it all out, side by side. On the left, you've got the prophecy. On the right, the book's claim. It argues that a man named Raymond Elwood Lear, who is known as Lord Rael, fits every single one of these criteria. The book points to his arrival in 2011 after Sharon's stroke. It brings up an instance where he was apparently stopped from running for office in Chicago. And it says his huge use of the internet perfectly fulfills the media prophecy. And of course, it points to the skepticism he's faced from religious groups. But the book doesn't stop there. It digs up another prophecy from Kaduri when he supposedly made 40 years before he died, that it claims adds a whole other layer of proof to this timeline. So now we get into this other prediction, which is surprisingly political. According to one of Kaduri's students, someone asked him for a sign of the Messiah's coming, and the rabbi's answer was pretty simple. When there will be elections, but there will not be a government. The book then presents this timeline to connect that decades-old prediction to something that actually happened, the very real political gridlock Israel faced in 2019, when they had multiple elections and still couldn't form a stable government. For the authors, this isn't just some political mess. It's the fulfillment of yet another key sign that the time is right. So, you might be wondering, why put so much weight on these specific predictions from this one rabbi? Well, it's all about building a case that goes way beyond just a single, isolated claim. The book's argument is really structured in these 4 parts you see here. First, it establishes Kaduri as a credible, unimpeachable source. Second, it highlights his very specific, testable checklist. Third, it presents Lord Rael as the one person who supposedly checks all the boxes. And finally, it frames this whole prophecy as just one piece of a much bigger puzzle, putting it alongside other claims like hidden messages found in the Torah. And this right here, this gets to the absolute core of the book's strategy. The author presents what they claim is this overwhelming mountain of evidence, this string of fulfilled prophecies. And then they turn around and pose this question directly to you, the reader. They're basically saying, at what point does this stop being a coincidence? And that really is the central challenge this whole story presents, isn't it? The book argues that it's all a clear, undeniable pattern. Of course, skeptics might just see it as a bunch of coincidences strung together. So it leaves us with this final question to chew on. When we're looking at stuff like this, how do we decide what's a compelling pattern and what's just a coincidence?